So my new crankshaft is actually in this box. I went ahead and lubed it up with assembly oil already because it's ready to go in, along with all the other bearings. Now for this car, there are actually 3 different color bearings you can buy for it. The way you actually know which one it is there's a code on the crankshaft. So these it's only the last line, and you see how mine is all 2s. So every 2 pertains to each bearing seat on the crankshaft and the case. So this one is saying that it takes all 2 bearings, and number 2 bearings are actually green bearings. So if you see, these bearings are actually coded. I'm trying to focus. Boom, there it is. So you see the number 2 right there. So that's how you know which bearing to use. So these, you see there's the number 2 right there. So mine takes, the new one that I bought takes all 2 bearings, but if you actually look at the block is actually going to give you another code for you to know which bearings go on the block side, because those number 2s are just the bearings that go on the hat part of the crankshaft. But let me find this code for you guys. All right, here it is, guys. Let me see if I can focus. There it is. It's upside down, but you can see it's K and then a star and then BBA, BBAB. So those letters actually correspond to a chart, and the chart actually dictates what bearing we need. I'll show you guys the chart in a minute. All right, guys, so this is the repair instructions on how to classify your bearing shells. So pretty much like what I was telling you guys, on the block itself, there's going to be a code. Each letter on the block is going to correspond to a seat on the actual block itself. There's 7 of them. So on every seat, a bearing goes there. And then the second code is, this is the crankshaft. So on the second code, it's going to be the bottom line on the crankshaft. And same thing, each number is going to correspond to a seat on the crankshaft itself. But these are going to go on the crankshaft caps. So it's pretty much telling you to enter the codes here. So you pretty much just use this chart, write out the codes, and then over here it's going to tell you which ones it is. I think this is an error here. A is supposed to be here, B is supposed to be here, and C is supposed to be this last one. So it would pretty much be, most of mine were B2s. So B is supposed to be here, so B2 is green. So most of mine were green, and then I had maybe 1 or 2 A2s that were blue. But that's pretty much the chart that I used for the long block, and then this is the chart used for the caps right here. Same thing. I think this is just an error. These are supposed to all be slid over one. But yeah, once you get this chart, you pretty much know what color your shells are. So I was actually having trouble sitting this crankshaft on the block, so I ended up having to remove all the connecting rod pistons in order to seat the crankshaft properly. So now I'm just going to go ahead and add all these crankshaft caps, and then I'm going to reinstall all the pistons and show you guys a better way of doing that. All right, guys, so I got my crankshaft here. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is lube up all the bearings, and then I'm going to go ahead and seat them on and replace all the bolts. So same thing, we're going to use this assembly lube. And you only want to apply a thin coat. because this is just until the oil gets primed on there. So you want to start with number 1, and I'm just gonna kind of just lay it on there. All right, guys, so brand new bolts. I'm just gonna run them down real quick, and then I'm gonna show you guys the proper way to torque it. You want to make sure you start them by hand, because the last thing you want is to cross thread your block. All right, guys, so let me show you guys what I pretty much did. So after I installed all the caps, I went ahead and installed new bolts on all the caps, and you want to start in the middle and kind of work your way outwards, just so the crankshaft sits on there nice and flush. So I pretty much start in the middle. So I pretty much went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So you start in the middle and work your way outwards evenly. So I pretty much just got them pretty much hand tight with the electric ratchet. So now I'm actually going to go ahead and torque these down. Let me go ahead and get the torque specs real quick. All right, guys, so this kind of shows the repair instructions on how to install these crankshaft caps. So this is pretty much telling you guys that, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the front of the engine, that's the back, and they're all numbered. So we did that already. And then this one right here is pretty much telling you guys what I said. You start in the middle and work your way outwards evenly. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think I went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did it the opposite, but it does the same thing, so it should be okay. And now this shows you the tightening torques. So I did replace the screws already. So I got to start off at 25 Newton meters and then rotate it 65 degrees twice. So I got to do that, and I got to do that in this order as well. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, guys, so I got my torque wrench here. So we're going to start off by setting it to Newton meters. And then 25 Newton meters. All right, guys, so when it beeps, that's 25. All right, guys, so my camera had died, but I basically torqued these all to 25 Newton meters, and then I went ahead and did 65 degrees on all of them, and then I went back in one more time and did another 65 degrees on every single one of them. And I pretty much went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And I did the same thing 3 times. 25 Newton meters, 65 degrees, and a second 65 degrees. Once you get to the second 65 degrees, it starts to get super, super tight. Just trust your torque wrench and use your muscles, and you should be okay. All right, guys, so the crankshaft is installed, and it should pretty much just spin freely with almost little to no force. If you're struggling to spin your crankshaft, something's not right, so I would stop and figure it out. But as you can see, mine pretty much just spins super easy. I just have a ratchet connected to the end to make it easier, and I'm not applying tons of force. And it looks like it's spinning the way it's supposed to. So that's a good sign. So now I'm gonna go ahead and install all of the rod bearings and the pistons and the connecting rods. All right, guys, so once you verified your crankshaft does spin freely, nice and easy, I just went ahead and rotated the block right side up. So I put the crankshaft so that the bearing could just, actually I got to turn it a little bit more, but you basically want to put the crankshaft where the bearing of the rod could just slide right in there. So I got to rotate it a little bit more, and after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and lube up all the bearing grooves, and I'm also going to lube up the cylinder walls just using oil. Let me do that real quick. All right, guys, so now that I got the crankshaft lined up with the cylinder, that way this thing can kind of just slide right in there. Before you do that, let me show you guys the right way to install this. So each ring on the actual piston, so the gap has to be at a certain rotation. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. I'm going to do it all, but then I'm going to show you guys how to do it with the repair instructions. But you also want to lube up the rings with oil and this little sidewall with oil as well. And once I'm ready to install that, I'm just going to go ahead and use a piston ring compressor tool, and it's going to compress these rings, allowing me to slide it in there nice. Another thing is, on all of these piston heads, there's actually an arrow. So it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can. It's right here. It's all kind of scratched up, but right here underneath this little QR code, there's actually an arrow. So that arrow actually has to point towards cylinder 1. So cylinder 1 is in the front of the motor. And then this is the back of the motor. So depending on, you know, and also you got to keep track of where you took it out. So like this one, for example, I have them set in order on how I took them out. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 for me. So this one's 6. So this one goes at the end of the motor, arrow facing that way. So just make sure all your arrows are facing towards the front of the motor, and you should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and install all of these, and then I'm going to show you guys how to do the last one. All right, guys, so these repair instructions right here kind of show how the piston rings should be aligned. So when you're holding the piston with the head pointed up, the top ring is called K1, middle ring's K2, and then the oil ring has 3 different rings inside of it. The one closest to the bottom is O1, the middle one's O2, and the top one's O3. And this kind of shows a diagram of 1, 3, and 2, and it shows you what position they're referring to. So like right here, 1, if you're holding the piston towards you, is 12 o'clock, 2 is 4 o'clock, 3 is 8 o'clock. And then this is just telling you which ring is which. So right here pretty much tells you K1, 2, O1, O2, and O3, what alignment position you got to put it in. So I'm going to go ahead and I did all of them already. I'm just going to show you guys how to do just the last one. All right, guys, so this is one of the pistons. So it might be kind of hard to tell, but there's a gap there. Then one's at 12 o'clock position, the middle one's at 12, and then the top one's at on this end here. So now I'm just gonna grab the compression tool, compress them, and then just pop it in there. All right, guys, so once you put all the pistons in, this is what it looks like. So now we're gonna go ahead and rotate the block and then put all the upper rod bearing and the caps on there and torque everything down.
Oh, wait. Turn it. This piston fell. Did you turn it already?
Huh?
You rotated the crank?
No.
Go back. I mean, it seemed like...
Oh, they're all flush.
Am I tripping?
Yeah, you're tripping.
Well, why are these way down here? You didn't push those all the way in?
No. They're not way down, bro. Those can go further down. They just.
I know, but that's what I was asking.
Yeah, no, because I have to rotate them.
Oh, I see. Hey.
So,
I see. Yeah, no, I got you. I thought you already had them seated and they were fucking, in my head, they looked like they were falling.
Put your hand there, bro. I gotta push down a little bit.
Okay.
All right, now push up. All right, there you go. Push up.
This is the part where I cut myself.
Oh, you're good.
I
Alright, same with this one.
Tell me when to push.
Go. Alright, stop. Stop. Alright, now. I got it. Perfect. Perfect. Alright, last one. Push. Good shit. Boom. Ooh. So all we were doing was we were just pushing up all the connecting rods and seating them onto their proper spot on the crankshaft. So I also bought new bolts for the rod caps. So I'm gonna go ahead and install all of these and the new bolts and torque everything to spec. All right, guys, and make sure you know which cap goes to which connecting rod. Because if you put them in the wrong spot, you'll have issues. So the way to tell is when you put it on, it shouldn't move at all, because it's mated to the connecting rod there. So like that one goes there, it's not moving at all. I already installed that one, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the rest of them on. Make sure you have it labeled. All right, guys, this is the tightening torque spec for the rod bearing caps. So we're gonna go ahead and do this on the car. All right, so 6, 20, 75. All right, guys, and that's pretty much it. Not sure why BMW has you retorque it 3 different times, but it's pretty much it for the torque spec.